call the regular board meeting to order. All members of the board are present. Ms. Bleckinger, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss collective negotiations and employment matters relating to particular persons? Mr. Pulin, Ms. Pulin? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion to return the regular board meeting to public session? Ms. Buckinger, Mr. Manna, all in favor? Carries unanimously. Please be advised that in the event of a fire emergency and an evacuation should be necessary, an alarm will sound. Please note all marked emergency exits and evacuate well away from the building. At this time, we request that everyone turn their cell phones and other electronic devices to silent. Thank you. Dr. Brown-Hall, I turn it over to you for recognition.
Thank you very much, Board President. Exciting night we have here. So tonight we begin our recognition by highlighting the extraordinary work of several Maple West fourth graders. We often talk about elevating student voice and ensuring our learners take an active role in their school and community. Through fourth grade student council, these tigers are showing their pride and willpower. I'd like to welcome the Maple West fourth grade student council, their advisors, Melissa Strife and Sarah Yerke, Assistant Principal Lindsay Cabrera, and Principal Kate Wendling.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you to our Maple West community. As you can see, we are well represented tonight with all of our students and families. So excited. So we just want to thank the Board of Ed and for the leadership team for having us tonight. Our community at Maple West takes pride in supporting and giving back to our community. This year, our student council, led by Melissa Strife and Sarah Yerke, have chosen to support the Compass House in Buffalo by making fleece blankets and collecting warm clothing for those in need. The Compass House Resource Center supports youth from ages 14 to 24 by offering shelter, counseling, and so much more.
Good evening. We are so proud of the hard work of our Maple West Tigers. We want to thank all of our teachers, our families, many of whom are here tonight,
Absolutely.
our PTA, and especially we want to thank our student council advisors, Melissa Strife and Sarah Yerke, and definitely all of our Maple West Tigers. We are so proud of all of you. Here is a look at some of their hard work.
Phenomenal.
Before we start with the blankets, there were three things I wanted to go over. Fourth grade student council helped make the school a better place. So like we make the spirit days and we work on one main project each year. This year we're working of making blankets for the Compass House in Buffalo.
Nathan.
So is it gonna be someone like, will it kind of be like a conveyor belt system?
Yes. They will do the tying, and then we'll just keep rotating through.
We're making like fold blankets. So we are like marking them and cutting them and tying them. I like doing it. And I think it's really fun because you get to work with other people. It makes me feel good, and I'm sure I feel like it's good to do something for other people.
When we reached out to Compass House, we mentioned the blankets, and they said that would be great, but they're also looking for those necessities. So when we asked the kids and we wanted them to come up with what may other children need, that's when they came up with the fuzzy socks, the mittens, the hats, the scarves, because it's Buffalo and they know it's going to be cold.
Let's go to kindergarten first, and then we'll work our way down.
The bench was almost like,
What?
it makes me feel really proud that like we're leading the school to help accomplish great things and like helping other people, and just collecting everything makes me feel like proud and happy. I just love seeing our school like bonding together to help one big project. It's awesome.
I think it's amazing to see the want to give, because our kids are wonderful and they just want everyone to feel like they belong. They want to feel like they're safe. And it's amazing to see it trickle. I've heard other kids do it and now I want to do it.
it's a very important thing to help other kids who don't have all the stuff that we do. So by us giving them these things, they can enjoy winter just as much as we do here. It means like that we get to help younger children, and I feel like that's really nice.
Seeing them to, put forth the effort and want to stand up and show their community and their school what they're capable of doing is very rewarding. To see the kids come in with the smiles on their face, they bring joy. To see them being able to help other kids when they never thought they would be able to do that is very exciting for them. It makes me very happy to see them happy helping others.
I think we sometimes underestimate our littles, right? And what they can actually do. And for me as a mom and a teacher, knowing that their hearts are truly gold. And if we give them the opportunities, they're going to step up and they're going to do even more.
How awesome is that, right?
Congratulations, Tigers. On behalf of the Compass House, we would like to present this plaque for their outstanding service to our community. Congratulations.
Awesome.
Mrs. Stripe and Mrs. Yerke.
Congratulations. And I'm sure Lisa Freeman, the executive director of Compass House and the Compass House community, really appreciates this. So thank you very much. Can we get a picture, Nick? Absolutely. President? Board members, take a good look. These are some of your future student board members, right? Absolutely, indeed.
Strive for something higher than that.
Huh?
Strive for something higher than that.
It's just a step in their path.
Exactly.
A step in their path. Next, tonight we are recognizing the 21 student musicians who were selected as either an alternate or participant in this year's NISMA All-State Band, Chorus, or Orchestra. One of the most prestigious and highly regarded honors these students can receive. Our Williamsville musicians just returned from Rochester, where they performed alongside their peers from around the state at the annual conference. We are extremely proud of these students, and I'd like to invite Jamie Picknell, our Director of Music, to share more on this accomplishment.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown Hall, our Board of Ed, and our leadership team as well. And the weather held out for us last week.
Yes.
It's always exciting when we get to come together to celebrate the talent, creativity, and excellence found within the Williamsville Central School, from elementary all the way up to our high school students.
Absolutely.
And tonight we celebrate our young, exceptional musicians. A solo is chosen and a piano accompanist is selected. And our students and teachers begin what will become endless hours of preparing for their audition a whole year in advance almost. Songs must be chosen from the current New York State School Music Association manual, and it also must be selected from the highest level of solos listed in that manual. Students then audition in front of a NISMA adjudicator, demonstrating extensive technical skills and musicianship on their instrument. And your voice is an instrument too. I put them under all the same category. At the end of the festival, performances are ranked, starting with all students who scored 100, and typically your all-state students are in that 99 to 100 range, so it's a very small gap. Late in June, a selection committee comes together, made up of NYSSMA members from all 15 zones that represent the state, and a statewide list for each instrument and voice part is created. So based on that criteria, final selections are made as the top performers in New York State anxiously wait for the results to arrive. This year, we have 16 students from our district representing all 3 high schools selected to perform in a conference all-state band, orchestra, or chorus. And in addition to that, 5 students, also representing all 3 high schools, were selected as all-state alternates, which is also an exemplary achievement in its own right.
Absolutely.
This past weekend, as mentioned, our performers embarked on their rigorous 3-day experience in Rochester, where they spent hours in rehearsals and completed the weekend with a performance on the Eastman Theater stage. When you're there, the stage is beautiful itself, but the performances, you would think you were at the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra. They are just outstanding.
Wow.
I'm beyond proud of our students and the hard work and dedication that went into preparing for this incredible musical experience. I also want to recognize our outstanding music teachers who support our students in this process every step of the way. When our students succeed, we succeed. And it is the dedication of our teachers, their endless support and instruction that help maintain our status as one of the best communities for music education 16 years in a row now. At this time, please turn your attention to the screen as we present our 2024 NYSSMA Conference All-State Musicians. And we're excited to present something a little different than we've done in the past.
I see some of you stretching your necks to see. You can move up to the front over here. There's a lot more room. You can look on that screen so you don't have to stretch your neck. All right? You guys are trying to, absolutely. Right over here. Tim was the first one. So.
So with all the undeniable hard work and preparation it takes. We wanted to give them a moment in the video to really have their own spotlight for brief seconds on there.
Absolutely.
So at this time, all of the All-State participants who were able to join us this evening, can you please stand so we can recognize you?
Woo!
Congratulations.
Over here, Nick.
We're going to do a picture
Over
up
here.
here, if y'all don't mind.
And thank you all for being here tonight. Great job. Board President, I turn it back over to you.
Are there any board acknowledgements this evening? All right, I don't see.
Dr.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Dr. Spicer.
I just want to recognize the PTSA Council Craft Show that happened this past weekend. It is a 2-day, 2-building event and a huge lift. And as a participant, though I know how much work goes into it, it was flawless. It was a wonderful experience. So just kudos to the group and fundraises scholarship for students. So it was wonderful.
And every year, last year I only budgeted an hour. This year I said I'm gonna budget 2 hours.
You can't.
Still not enough time.
Nope, it's not. It's not enough time.
There's and so much great work in the kettle corn, the candy apples, and the little ornament. It's just not enough time.
Artists, there's student artists on the second
Absolutely,
day.
with
Yeah,
the
it's
beads
really
and the
cool.
bracelets.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep, agreed.
All right, I'm sorry. President.
Okay, are there any other board acknowledgements? Okay, we will move on then. Normally we would have public expression at this time, but no one signed up for public expression this evening. So we are moving on to 4B. At this time, we will have that Erie One BOCES Exceptional Education Expansion presentation. Dr. Brown Hall, I turn it to you.
Thank you very much, Board President. So I'd like to welcome this evening our District Superintendent of BOCES, Dr. Michael Capuana, our Assistant Superintendent, Anita Troutman, and Executive Director, Jim Frigiletti. I said it right, Jim? Absolutely. They will present the Exceptional Education Expansion, a unique opportunity for students in our region. Dr. Capuana?
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Brownhall. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Williamsville Board of Education for inviting us out to provide the presentation on our new exciting project and our exceptional education expansion. So as a Board of Cooperative Services, our priorities always remain to anticipate and respond to the needs of our component districts. And across Erie One, we serve, as you know, 19 different school districts. Over the course of the last 3 years, we've been in conversation with our component superintendents and with our faculty and staff about the need to expand opportunities for our exceptional education learners from across Western New York. So the need has grown. Had the opportunity back in July to provide some testimony at the Foundation Aid Rockefeller Institute hearing. And one of the key components we shared on behalf of the school districts was that we've had nearly a 14% increase in students classified with special needs over the course of the last 10 years. In addition to that, we know that at the early grades, we're experiencing increased referrals for out-of-district program. And of course, the hope is for all children to have their educational experience within the school district. But as a BOCES, we are a part of that continuum. And so our partnership has been focused on building out opportunities and diversifying those opportunities to the changing needs of the kids we serve. Simultaneous, we have other campuses that we are currently operating exceptional education programming in across Western New York and within the component districts. And in a few cases, the districts have shared with us an intention to need to reclaim that space for their own needs within the district, increased populations of students, et cetera. So these two things coming together have led us to the conversation that we have been in for the better part of 2 years now with our school districts. Ultimately, the vision for this work and our mission is to build a centralized state-of-the-art campus that will serve not only the students we're currently serving in K-12 across Erie One, but also additional students. I'm going to ask Mrs. Troutman, our Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, to provide a little more context about what the campus experience we're planning will look like, and then we'll talk a little bit about the enrollment changes.
Thank you.
Next slide. Okay, so our research and planning began in October of 2023 after concerns continued to arise from our component districts and committees on special education regarding growing need for placements out of district. Erie One BOCES and our partner agencies locally were all full with wait lists. Through January of 2024, from October, the Erie One BOCES team gathered historical data, trends, and projections. This information allowed us, in collaboration with our 19 component districts, to make a research-based decision to find a space to accommodate some of our current programs and allow for expansion of programming and enrollments. In February of 2024, the Erie One BOCES team contracted with Buffalo Construction Consultants to serve as our owner representative to administer a formal request for proposal of what properties could fit our request in the Western New York market. And our request was a convenient location for districts to transport students to, easy access, safe location within our 19 component district footprint. So that would be anywhere basically in Erie County surrounding the city of Buffalo. In May of 2024, the RFP came forward with 7 proposed properties. Those properties were reviewed and the developers presented their concepts to a stakeholder representative group. From that, a preferred property emerged, and in July, our Erie One Board of Education approved a resolution to pursue a contract with that preferred developer. We are currently in lease and construction negotiations with a preferred developer. Our proposed timeline starts construction in 2025, which is just a short month away, with continued collaboration on design and programming. Projected construction would be completed in the summer of 2026, welcoming students in September of 2026. If you could go to the next slide. Thank you. Our preferred location is a single-story, safely nestled within convenient access to our 19 components. The footprint meets the need with room to grow as needed. In collaboration with numerous stakeholder groups, we are designing student spaces and learning labs specifically to meet the unique needs, as exemplified by a home economics lab that will also pose as an apartment living lab, a school store, a student cafe that also has smaller dining rooms for those students that space would be too large for, sensory and calming rooms, research designed speech, occupational, and physical therapy spaces. These research-backed design spaces will support skill development, daily living, and work-based learning skills for our most vulnerable population. To maximize the capacity of this campus, The current design will include interior courtyards to allow for natural lighting and ensure all classrooms have windows. The courtyards will also allow for safe outdoor play and learning labs. The campus will serve a full continuum of K through 12 special education students and will also host our extended school year program for our most vulnerable population of students. I'm going to turn it over to Jim to talk about some numbers. Thanks, Jim.
Okay. During the last few slides, we discussed the need for new space due to several districts reclaiming some of their currently leased spaces because of their growing instructional needs. Equally important is the need for our additional space. Over the last several years, our programs have experienced wait lists for special education students due to the lack of space and the growing needs of our students. Throughout New York State and Western New York, Dr. Capuana already mentioned that there's been an increase of up to 14% in this special ed referrals and placements. The focus group of superintendents has reinforced the need for more space and the additional programs to meet their challenges. One additional challenge schools are facing is that private agencies are also experiencing the same issues that we are, and many are at capacity already. As you can see from this chart, our total capacity for our special education students is currently set at 370 students. With moving to a new proposed location, we would increase to 550 or add an additional 180 seats for students. It is also important to note that we will continue to operate programs in a few of our other existing sites. Turn over.
I'm certainly happy to take any questions, any comments that the board might have. I think that in addition to the space, we're really concentrating very deeply on the needs of the children across Western New York. And those needs have shifted, particularly at the early grades. And so the referrals that we are receiving from our partner school districts, the range of needs of the children continue to expand. Many of the other agencies that serve students are also at wait lists. There are children, particularly in the younger grades, that are not currently able to attend school because of that range. And so we're making sure, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about regionalization as well, that we are being responsive to that and that we are doing that in a way that is built through the shared expertise of our partner school districts, our superintendents, our boards of education, and our own faculty and staff. We're also partnering very directly with higher education. We know that to serve the additional students, we will have to be very intentional about our recruitment of faculty and staff, thinking about our teacher aides, teacher assistants, classroom teachers, leaders, that continuum of educational experiences to make sure that we have a strong pipeline of exceptional education educators. But ultimately, we believe this is going to be a destination campus, unique for New York State, and even nationally in terms of the design elements and the capacity to serve a full range of students. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, board members?
In terms of, I heard you mention that a lot of your leases are up, that you'll be, so essentially you're just not signing back those leases because you think this will hold the space for that 14% increase or whatever it may be?
Yeah, so the two of our partner school districts have indicated that they have an intention to have their campus space taken back. That will align with the move to this new building. So there will be certainly some shift, but in addition to that, we're adding additional classroom spaces for a higher number of students.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Should I go ahead?
Please.
So we're moving on to 4C, which is our regionalization presentation. On October 25th, Dr. Brown Hall and I attended the regionalization roundtable for component districts for both Area 1 and Area 2 Chautauqua Cattaraugus BOCES. And at this event, our district superintendents, Dr. Capuana and Dr. O'Rourke, provided a regionalization overview and those of us in attendance began preliminary conversations. We wanted to ensure that our community is also well informed about this New York State Education Department initiative. So Dr. Capuana was here and kindly agreed to share the regionalization presentation here tonight. So Dr. Capuana and Dr. Brown Hall, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Board President. Dr. Capuana told me I can do the presentation with him, so I'm looking forward to that. So if we can pop it up, Nick, and I can talk about what is regionalization, because I know a lot of our board members and a lot of our community members have been asked that question and asked for opinions about it. And I want to let any community members know that are watching this entire presentation, as the previous presentation, are available in board docs. But what is regionalization? So regionalization is a collaborative model for creating equitable educational opportunities for all students. It leverages the state's existing capabilities, talent, and infrastructure. So by engaging in regionalization planning, schools and districts may identify, through our needs and assessment tool that we have already completed, explore and pursue a variety of possible solutions to the academic and operational. That's a key piece here. It's not only academic, but it's operational also, challenges they face by tapping into the full span of resources that exist in their larger region. So for our region, it is our BOCES component districts. So who? This initiative is about fostering local conversations, and we want to stress that local piece. And when you see the where, locally, local solutions are needed for local challenges. So this is all facilitated by our district superintendent, and that is Dr. Capuana, and he'll be responsible for discussing the ways local districts can ensure equitable access to educational opportunities for students in their schools. So one of the first things that was done is actually have that meeting where all superintendents and board presidents were able to come to really learn about what regionalization is. So again, what is it? We already explained that, but the important parts and the what part is the part that regionalization is not reorganization. All right. Regionalization also is not a state mandate to merge programs nor school districts. Regionalization is not about adding BOCES services either, although districts can suggest that in the regional plans, if they so wish, as BOCES services are already creating opportunities for students across the state. It's not about BOCES taking over districts. So that what section is very important because we've heard many of these things across the state. So it's important that we stress what regionalization is not. So why? We all know New York is facing significant challenges within and across communities in preparing all students for college, career, and civic readiness, including student access to high-quality educational opportunities, fiscal constraints, and potential changes to school funding models that might be implemented in the current state budget cycle. We all have seen the Rockefeller Institute has released their findings and their recommendations to the governor, and we have to see how that plays out. An inclusive review of the state high school graduation measures. We know that the Blue Ribbon Commission, we are going to be getting additional information on what that will look like in the phased-in approach in years to come. So how can we locally partner to make sure that we're still providing educational, equitable opportunities for all students? When many districts across New York State are already engaged in this work through shared professional development, learning best practices among each other, collaborating with local industry partners, and joint extracurricular activities, etc. Later in this presentation, Dr. Capuana will show you some of the regional partnerships that are already taking place. The 5-step regionalization planning process. So every district will be submitting, if they so choose, their strength and needs assessment review. We've already submitted ours. Then the regionalization convenings will take place. One was already taking place on October 25th. I know there's going to be a separate one for school district teams on January 16th. Then the interim progress report is developed, plan submission, review, and approval, and then implementation. But these things actually take time. As you saw from a previous slide, they go all the way until 2025. We already talked about what is regionalization. I'm going to go on to the next slide. And Dr. Capuana will pick it up from here, relevant regional examples.
So as Dr. Brownhall shared, we have a variety of regional cooperation that's already happening across our component districts. Some examples that are probably familiar: shared sports within Section 6, school districts working together on that. Tough to fill positions where there is a need, a shared business official type role. Looking at central business office services, we know we've had an uptick at Erie One in requests for support for payroll and the CBO work that we do to support the back offices of school districts. So how do we build that out to support, as civil service sometimes can be a challenge? In addition to that, distance learning, shared advanced placement teachers, where districts may have groups of students looking to access that AP or IB coursework and may not have the teacher are interested in sharing those roles. In addition to that, other examples that we see as relevant in Erie County and with our partnership with our school districts. First is the mental health collaborative that we are now entering into year 3 of. So we are working directly with the University of Buffalo, Erie County Social Services, the Offices of Mental Health, along with all of our Erie County school districts, to have regular conversations about ways for students and families to access the services that are out there to support the mental health needs that we have across our school systems. And so we're very intentional, meeting 4 times a year as a group. And really that's just getting the right folks together in the room to talk about what the needs are and sharing expertise, and again, providing access to those resources. In addition to that, we've invested heavily with our partner school districts on the P20 work to align, make sure that we have a pipeline of, again, educators, leaders with the higher education partners. So officially last spring, we pulled together with our partners at Buffalo State University, a group of leaders and educators from across Western New York and higher ed partners to talk about the certification reform package that was on the table for the Board of Regents. There were 6 major reforms that were proposed, and we wanted to make sure that our regional voice was heard back to the State Education Department and the Board of Regents to talk about what the needs are here locally, but also to give very concrete examples of what our school systems are working through in our higher ed partnerships. And then finally, the exceptional education campus. This is something that looking at that need as a regional need that's been driven by our partner school districts and coming up with innovative solutions for that work. To add to one other element that Dr. Brownhall mentioned is the Blue Ribbon Commission. There are definitely going to be some reforms and changes that schools will work through over the course of the next 4 years to be prepared to offer all the different pathways for our students. And so we want to situate that at the center of our conversation as well, because there does need to be support and creativity across school systems. There's great work happening. There are regular conversations with curriculum and instructional leaders, but how can we make sure that we're maximizing that and sharing what's working in different situations to align to the Blue Ribbon Commission?
Thank you, Dr. Capuana. Our Strength and Needs tool, a lot of the information we were given, some of it was able to be pre-populated because of the data that BOCES was able to supply. And then under the direction of Dr. Bell, and the rest of our document was completed with help from the leadership team, all the information that went into the Strength and Needs tool to really show where we're strong at in delivering a phenomenal educational experience, as you know we do in Williamsville, but also gave us some time to reflect on some of the social and cultural aspects where we can enhance. So Dr. Capuana talked about the mental health support services. And so that's one area, as you know, we're always looking to enhance and do better in. But as we also know, every district struggles with that, providing the necessary resources for their students and finding the necessary personnel for their students. Also, that capacity area. A lot of times when we talk about hard to fill areas, I know Dr. Capuana mentioned it in one of the slides, AP teachers, but we also know that LOTE teachers, we also know that technology teachers are hard to come by. So what shared services can we do there? Also, when we look at things like transportation and other issues that may be operational, that we're able to talk with our neighboring districts about really utilizing some of that regionalization discussion and talking in that aspect. Dr. Capuana?
So this data is going to be collected, and we will be working within the BOCES to distill the information that's been turned in. by all of our partner school districts, understanding that ultimately it's a significant task. I think that the strength and needs responses are one data point for our conversation. However, to Dr. Brown Hall's point, we want to make sure that it's a hyper-localized conversation that's happening about our needs here. And understanding that the individual report that each school district turns in is roughly 1,400 columns in a spreadsheet. So our challenge will be breaking that information down and again, coming back to the table with what are some common themes. And we have some tools and resources within the WNIRIC, along with our expertise of our staff and certainly conversations. But we will work through that process and then have our next meeting in January with the leadership teams from across the component districts. So next steps, just the timeline out, the needs assessments were due in last Friday from the component districts. The vast majority of, if not all of Erie ones have completed them. I didn't go in today, but anticipate that that's the case. We had our first convening meeting this past October. I also note that we wanted to ensure that we included Board of Education representation in that conversation, how significant that is as we're considering decisions. The interim progress report being due April 1st, that is something that I'm responsible for on behalf of the 19 component districts back to the State Education Department. Full disclosure, I have not yet seen the parameters of that interim progress report, nor the eventual regionalization plan structure that we'll be responding with. There was conversation at the Board of Regents the last couple of days about the work, and I'll share a little bit about that. But ultimately, there will be 37 of these different plans for the 37 BOCES across the state that will be turned in. The expectation is that this process will be resurfaced every 10 years. Of course, we'll have regular conversation about how we're progress monitoring that work together. And noteworthy, November 26th, Commissioner Rosa issued a memo with a couple of key, as they're referred to as key non-substantial revisions. So first and foremost is that regionalization plan will remain advisory rather than mandatory. So this ensures that districts maintain full control of the plan that's developed. In addition to that, a voluntary participation acknowledgement was added as an option. So districts, in consultation with their boards, have the option to elect not to participate in the regionalization planning by submitting written notification by January 15th to the State Education Department. The Strength and Needs tool, the districts may delay submission of that strength and needs as they're having local conversation with the boards of education and regarding continued participation in the initiative. Should the district choose not to participate, they will not be required to submit the strength and needs tool. There is a landing page that's being developed through the State Education Department for all of the regionalization information and resources. I would just add that I think in closing, at least from the BOCES position on this, we know that we want this to be very localized. There's good work that's happening. We want to build on that, but there is also going to need to be an advocacy and a reform conversation necessary. And that's where the partnership with our component districts and boards of education, whether that is regulatory relief, creativity in terms of the ability for school systems to work together, ways to leverage aid in different ways to support the school systems, and ultimately just focusing on equitable student access. So we will be looking forward to the conversation. I do feel positive about our first meeting. I think that there was a willingness and an openness to the conversation, and we're going to hope to continue that momentum on behalf of Erie County Schools.
Thank you very much, Dr. Capuana.
How would it harm Williamsville if we did not take part in it? If you can tell us.
I don't know that there would be, maybe harm isn't the word I would use. I think that being at the table for those conversations allows for input and for representation of the volume of students that you serve here in Williamsville. And we really want to try to, I'll give the example of, we have a focus group of superintendents that we've been meeting to plan around the work. Transportation has come up as a significant pressure point for school systems to talk more about, and certainly the costs associated with transportation, the limitation drivers, all of those different things. So I use that as an example just to say that I think it's helpful to be at the table, and not being there doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be any kind of harm, but it doesn't allow for the representation of your localized needs.
You lose your voice.
Dr. Singh?
I mean, we at the present time we already have collaborations with BOCES for a number of things. How would this improve on that? Like, is it something that adds on to that, or what would we gain as opposite to what he said? What would we gain by doing compared to what we have now?
So I don't know that it's necessarily going to be BOCES specific, the results of that. And the conversations we've also had is that there may be groups of school districts in a similar area or in a similar situation that want to partner together. So this conversation hopefully will unearth some of those interests. But then in addition to that, if there's a BOCES component, a way to build efficiency for that and to make that an aidable opportunity, that's something that we would want to pursue. So new BOCES services could be part of it, but that's not the main focus. It really is about districts working together across district lines. And I would also add that it's somewhat limiting, right? In the other conversation we started to have is just to think about the borders of the individual BOCES, because you may have school districts that are in two different BOCES catchments that would like to work together on something. So how do we ensure that that happens as well? So as part of this, we're looking to bring together the 4 BOCES across our JMT, Orleans, Niagara, Erie 1, Erie 2, and Cattaraugus, Allegheny, to make sure that the school systems that are maybe thinking about partnering across those BOCES lines have that opportunity.
Is there an option, say in a year's time, that we find it's not very effective for us to opt out?
Well, there's nothing that's mandated.
It is not, but once you join, you're supposed to submit reports every year, right?
No.
10 years?
No.
The plan is due October, and then it would be revised every 10 years, correct?
So you're in it for 10 years.
Well, and see, that's why I want to be careful when we say in it for 10 years, right? There's nothing in it that we're obligated to, right? This is what can we benefit component districts? What can we do to look and collaborate together and plan and do that sort of thing? So there might be something that will benefit us, and we can work together with other districts on that. But there's nothing that we're going to be forced to do or obligated or tied to.
So we can pick and choose what we want to work on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And with who?
And with who? Right. We're not going to be forced to do anything. As it said in the memo from the commissioner, this is voluntary. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Capuano, but
No,
that's
correct.
We all understand it.
And I think the clarification of that was necessary, even though that was not the initial intention. Correct. Clarifying that was important because certainly there was conversation across the state. Also understanding this will look very different in different parts of New York State. So the needs of our 19 components here, we want to have as many voices as possible at the table to help think about all the diverse range of kids that we serve.
And having that seat at the table is important to see how we can also benefit. So when we talk about, shared RFPs to reduce cost and things of that nature, we want to be at the table to be part of those conversations.
Mr. Manna?
Thank you. So if we came up with a plan, let's say with 2 or 3 other school districts in the area, can somebody say no to that plan?
So as I shared before, I don't have the parameters yet of what that interim progress report or final plan will look like. But there is definitely an interest from the state education department in the conversations I've had with the other BOCES district superintendents and the department to have progressive ideas come forward and for us to work together to advocate. If the initial response to that would be that it's not possible under whatever regulation we're dealing with, how can we work together to get towards that? Because it's a need that we have here locally.
Thank you.
Mr. Piscaglia?
So, you hear intention. We have no intention. We all know the state, though. And that's my fear. Regionalization sounds all great, working together. Down the years, as the state decides to change their mind, governors are replaced, Board of Education and state education people are replaced. What could change with that? That's my fear. And then it becoming, like other states that, have county school districts and things like that. I'm just trying to be honest and upfront of what my fears are. I'm not saying that is what you presented tonight. You clearly have not. And I don't think that's anyone's intention in this room, but that is a solid fear of mine. And talking to many educators after hearing this, it's pushing our people in college to go away from education, things like this. And that's my fear. I do like that I hear, and I don't know if it's true, is this will also hopefully help recruit teachers and teacher recruitment. I mean, is it give an opportunity for boards and districts to work together on what, and you talk about progressive movements in terms of like how college students can get certifications. I mean, think back to like 10 years ago. I think 10 years ago where TAs didn't count to get, your 3 years of service. Well, those people are still sitting on their butts looking for jobs. Well, now their cert's gone and they're still, I know I've talked to 32 people in this state, in this region that would willing to, if they would just change the certification law, get their cert back and go start applying to school districts again. I mean, it's a joke. If we were going to talk about regionalization, let's talk about those progressive ideas to help. And I'm hoping that's what, as you said, progressive. I keep repeating what you said because I think that's great. I think hopefully that's what it's pushing towards. But in the back of my mind, that fear is what happens 8 years down the road, what happens 6 years down the road of what might be.
Two items, Mr. Biscaglia. If you look at slide 10,
yep.
and this is for the public at home also when you want to access the presentation. When we talk about the P20 teacher pipeline and regionalization in Erie County, we actually, Dr. Capuana and Dr. Wendy Patterson at Buff State actually convened a meeting at Buff State for us to review and look at all of the certification requirements and what are the sticking points and the holdup from individuals being certified. So those are the conversations we're having, but we have more of a voice when we're doing it all together, right? So those are the types of things that we want to do when we talk about regionalization, making our voice stronger, and where can we partner to make sure we're getting this sort of thing done.
If I may, we've all seen enough of these state, ideas. It's voluntary until it's replaced by the carrot and the stick. And I'm never against studying something, and I think it's a great starting point. Because I think at some point the school is going to be forced to do it, or else you might lose something if you don't come up with at least take part in the discussion. So I'm all in favor of us jumping in on this and getting it on the ground floor.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just one last question. And this might not be something that you have an answer to, but is this tied to foundation aid in any way?
No, it's not. Although I think looking at ways for school systems to collaborate a little bit more directly, and again, thinking about leveraging services and aid and all of those different components are core to the work eventually that we might develop in the region. So, but it's not directly tied to foundation aid.
And just to follow up what Mr. Manna said, I wasn't expressing that out of a belief, and I'm my individual board member saying I wouldn't believe in regionalization. I just had to express the fears down the line, and then the positives too. Hearing Dr. Brown Hall express that teacher pipeline, helping do that. I mean, that helps. I mean, we all have kids coming through here. That's what absolutely the bottom line is. It's not that I wouldn't be in favor of regionalization. I just, yeah, right. It's just, we don't all know, it's just, it's a fear, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's all.
Scares me. When you don't know what the parameters are, that's what scares me. We're agreeing to something that we don't know what the end point is and how it will affect us. Sort of like jumping in before you know what if there's water in the pool,
I agree with you.
We're only agreeing to a conversation at this point, right? And before any plan is submitted, we will know what the parameters are.
Right.
So at this point, it's just having that voice at the table and being part of that conversation.
And as you said, I think it is very important that we're at the table, especially being Williamsville, a bigger school district. I think it's important, you know, and the public should know that there are a lot of positives we heard tonight. Not to think this is all negative. I didn't mean to come off that way, but
Oh, no, you didn't.
so I do want to end that way. We did hear a lot of positive what can help, especially with foundational age does change. Be able to work together and, you know, transportation or other funding, it would help. Yes.
In the famous words of our PTSA co-president, Lydia Ramos, she said, it's all about choices. Right? We're not being forced to do anything. It's all about choices.
Yeah, I do think too, just to the point of the P20 example, it's one thing to have the conversation with all of the voices in the room around that, but and would certainly be happy to share with Dr. Brown Hall and if appropriate for the board, there was the development of an executive summary of that conversation, which was very directly in response to the Board of Regents and the proposed reforms with what we thought made good sense in there, but then also what our experiences are here locally. So to the point of a plan and what that eventual plan looks like, right. I believe in every conversation I've had with the commissioner and the department that we are going to have great opportunity to bring forward the voice of the region and the needs that we have and do that in a way that is hyper localized to our students and to the educators that we support.
Thank you very much, Dr. Capuano. Thank you for being here tonight. Assistant Superintendent Anita and Executive Director Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board President, I turn it back over to you.
Me too, because I'm turning it back over to you for agenda
mine?
items
Okay.
5A through 5C.
Yes, you are. I apologize. Okay. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to the community update. So I want to start with talking about the elementary air conditioning project. I think it was the last board meeting where the board accepted the bids for the elementary air conditioning project. So now we are moving forward. So families and community members school community members have been communicated to at our phase 1 schools, which are Country Parkway Elementary, Heim Elementary, and Maple West Elementary. And that work will begin very soon. And that phase 1 is from 2024 to 2027. Phase 2 schools are Dodge Elementary, Forest Elementary, and Maple East Elementary. And that phase is from 2026 to 2028. I want to direct everyone to the the elementary school AC project page, because that is where you will find the most recent information and updates. And it also gives a construction timeline. Now, that timeline will probably be revised. We're getting additional updates from our construction partners, and we will always update. That's where you'll find the most recent information is on that website. But phase 1 and phase 2 schools are identified, and those are the time frames. School start times. So the district leadership, we met in November and December to discuss many of the logistics, the questions that came up from concerns from any committee members, solutions, and any additional possible concerns. So we've heard concerns from people that we talked to in the grocery store, people that we talked to in the region. We've heard concerns and questions. And anytime those concerns and questions come up, we do have internal conversations about what will that look like. I know that our committee met on December 3rd. I attended that meeting. They'll have their next meeting on December 17th, where we want to advance a proposal to make sure that it's on time for the January 14th board meeting. So Keith Bortman, who was the principal at South High School and the chair of that committee, he and some of his committee members will be at the January 14th meeting to present what that school start time proposal will be. There will be a comment period following for community feedback. There will also be a frequently asked questions document available on the school start times webpage. But during the January 14th presentation, we want to make sure a lot of those questions are answered here. The proposal will be voted on by the Board of Education at the February 11th meeting, and the new school start times implementation will be for the 25-26 school year. UPK at ECC North. As I reported at the last board meeting, we are pleased to let everyone know that we no longer have a waiting list, but we want to also let you know that there are additional spots available for this school year. So if there are any families that still would like or are interested in universal pre-K, please contact the Office of Instruction at the number listed, 716-626-8071, to speak to the UPK secretary. They'll be able to answer any questions, or if you have a specific interest in the program at ECC North, she can give you more information about that. UPK students must meet the program requirements as articulated by New York State and the Williamsville Central School District. SEAC update. So the Special Education Strategic Task Force met on November 18th to continue their work on goal development and action plans aligned with our strategic plan. And they will be planning a half-day session in December, and that will be on Monday, December 16th, to further articulate goals and action plans using data and special education vision and mission statements. And to let everyone know, it was expressed at the last SEAC meeting that the 15-to-1 standards-based program remains a high priority for the 25-26 school year. And Assistant Superintendent Scanzuzo and his team really identified all the steps that have been taken in the background to show that this remains a priority, so that we are looking to be as far along as we can, looking towards the 25-26 school year. Computer-based testing, and I know we spoke a lot about this last year. In the spring of 2025, the district will once again participate in New York State testing for students in grades 3 to 8. Parents will have the opportunity to determine their child's participation in the spring testing, and this year we will also be doing computer-based testing for grades 3 and 4. While testing does not begin until April, our students will have an opportunity in January to be engaged in the brief technology systems check. So the anticipated spring testing dates have been shared by the elementary and the middle school. So again, all grades 3 to 8 will have computer-based testing this year. Our speaker series kicked off on Tuesday, November 26th. Our director, Jamie Pitnell, who is here introducing our NYSSMA students this evening, discussed the arts, and that video is available on our website. This coming Thursday, December 12th, Director Christy Carroll will talk about ELA and literacy. So you're able to join us for that Zoom webinar. If you're not able to join us live, that will also be recorded, and that video will be on our website, available that way. Thursday, February 27th, we will have our science, technology, engineering, and math speaker series, and that will be facilitated by our new director of science and STEAM, which is Mr. Kevin Lasky. And then on Thursday, March 18th, math and computer science with our director, Dr. Chris McGinley. So we had some great fall sports. Our Section 6 titles: Williamsville East girls swimming, Class B champions; Williamsville North girls volleyball, Class AA champions; and Williamsville South girls volleyball, Class A champions; girls tennis, Cyan Tyson; and girls swimming, Bridget Riley. Our school dramas. So the last school drama was Williamsville North, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. A great, great production. And we're looking forward to our high school musicals that are coming up. Williamsville South will be doing The Music Man, February 6th to the 8th. Anything Goes at Williamsville North, and Mary Poppins, March 13th to the 15th at Williamsville East. These are all heavy musicals. They really, really are. Anything Goes. The amount of choreography in there, if anyone's seen it, phenomenal. Can't wait to see these musicals. Don't forget, winter recess this year will be 2 full weeks from December 23rd to January 3rd, and classes will resume January 6th. And that is the community update for December 10th, 2024. Our next item on the agenda is the staffing projections report for 2025-2026. So we use the information that Dr. Steve Grossman presented at the November board meeting and our enrollment projections. We use that to really guide what our staffing projections are. Our elementary enrollment is projected to decrease by 63 students from the 24-25 BEGS enrollment to 25-26 projected enrollment of 3460. So from 3523 to 3460, that is a decrease of 63 students. Given the current enrollment, class size ranges, and staff, it may be necessary to decrease staff by 3.0 FTE at the elementary level. Current enrollment projections for grades 5 through 8 are projected to increase 109 students from the 24-25 school year to the 25-26 projected enrollment. Given that current enrollment, class size ranges, and staff, it may be necessary to increase staff by 3.0 FTE at the middle school level. Finally, enrollment at the high school level is projected to decrease by 130 students from the 24-25 school year BEGS data to the 25-26 projected enrollment. Given the current enrollment, class size ranges, and staff at the high school level, it may be necessary to decrease staff by 3.0 FTE at the high school level. Now, due to all the enrollment fluctuations that we are used to, student course selection at the secondary level, and master scheduling accommodations, it's prudent to include 4.0 FTE positions for unprojected needs. So that entire report is available in board docs also under item 5B. Last but not least is our claims auditor report, item 5C. So the claims auditor is EFRP Group. Every 2 weeks, this auditing firm assigns 2 people to review every accounts payable claim that has been processed for payment by the business office. No payments are released until they have been reviewed and approved by our claims auditor. Each year, the claims auditor provides an annual report to the Board of Education that summarizes their claims audit work from the past year. The comprehensive report is in addition to the monthly claims audit reports that are provided to the Board of Education. The report for the last school year, July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, is available in board docs under item 5C. Board President, I turn it back to you. Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any community update questions, staffing projection questions, or annual claims audit report questions, board members?
Not a question, but I forgot to mention earlier, Mill Middle will be having their musical this week. Actually, it's Susical the Musical, starting Thursday through Saturday. So
That's awesome. Yes.
very exciting.
I love a good musical. Thank you very much, Dr. Spicer. Board President, I turn it back to you.
Okay, moving on then. We are now on to 6A events. Our Maple West Elementary School temporary classroom visit will be December 19th. Our policy committee will meet sometime in January, and our next school building visits are scheduled for January 16th. Back on November 20th, we held our staff conversations with the Board of Education and Superintendent event. Are there any comments or questions regarding any of these items? Okay. 6B, Ms. Poulin, would you please provide us with an update on the Student Board Member Committee?
Yes, the entire committee will reconvene in January. In the interim, there are 4 task groups, one at each high school, and a group of school board members who looked at a handbook for the incoming student representatives, and we're making some edits into that. 2 of the high schools have begun their process, and I am waiting to hear more from the 3rd high school at this point, but their reports are due back on Friday the 20th. So that's where we are.
Well, thank you so much. Item 6C, our board liaison assignments are listed in board docs. Item 6D and 6E are also in board docs. We did have the ECSB legislative breakfast on November 16th, and NYSBA held 2 webinars, one on school budgets and the other on a 2025 legislative and state budget preview. Are there any comments or questions on any of these items? Okay. 6F, correspondence. We received correspondence regarding coaching, regionalization, and school start times. Moving on to our consent agenda, may I have a motion to approve the agenda items 8 minutes, 9 personnel, 10 business and finance, 11 exceptional education, special needs and student activities, and 12 instruction as presented. Ms. Poulin, Mr. Bulin, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. I would like to thank the following retiree for their service to the district: Karen Brooks, clerk typist at East High School for 31 years of service. 13A, may I have a motion to take from the table for the second reading of policy updates 3421, 7132, 7220, 7250, 7315, 7330, 7340, 7360, 7410, 7420, 7530, 7550, 7553, 7556, 7557, 7580, 8210, and retire policies 7133, 7212, 7230, 7411, 7552 as presented. Dr. Slicer, Mr. Manna, is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion for the second reading and adoption of these policies? Ms. Fletch, Ms. Poulin, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. 13B, may I have a motion for the first reading of policy updates 5410, 5411, 5574, 7121, 7130, 7241, 7313, 7472, 7551, 7554, 7555 as presented. Ms. Bleckinger, Ms. Poulin, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion to table these policies for the second reading and adoption at the January meeting? Dr. Spicer, Mr. Manna, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Does anyone have any matters to discuss under committee of the whole? Okay, moving on. There are no matters to discuss under items 15 and 16. We are now on item 17A, our second public expression. If anyone in the audience would like to speak at this time, please step up to the podium. Seeing none, this concludes our regular board meeting. The next scheduled regular board meeting is January 14th. I hope everyone enjoys the upcoming winter break and has a very happy new year. Is there a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting? Mr. Poulin, Ms. Poulin, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.